Remember when 7% of Tea Party protests turned violent? It's like, what
right.
percentage was that? Dude, there was somebody who claimed someone at a Tea Party protest said the N-word and they were never able to offer proof, and that just maligned the entire movement.
Right.
For the entire country.
But listen, it's because conservatives keep playing. Let me tell you something. If you were playing Monopoly and then your person you're playing against kept cheating, you wouldn't keep playing.
No.
You'd be like, okay, I'm not going to play this game. Yet for some reason, conservatives and even to an extent moderates, the ones who are getting more politically active, are sitting here as the media will say something like, oh, this group of people did a bad thing. And then all these conservatives go, oh, that's not fair. You can't say this about us. And then the left will do something, and the right will go, hey, look at the left. And the left will go, not playing.
That's a really good point.
Not playing.
That's a really good point. Yeah, the Republicans are like, please don't view me as a racist. Don't view me as a sexist. Whatever it is you're labeling me as. Instead of just saying, this is ridiculous. I'm not even going to acknowledge it.
Controls the media?
Instead of the Republican Party saying, don't give interviews to like a certain organization, like just straight up, I don't do interviews at all.
I don't blame you.
I won't do it. I get an email, I'm like, gutter, gone. Don't care. These people are not, look, it is not the job of a journalist to tell you the truth. It is or the modern journalist. It's the job of a modern journalist to generate traffic for the website.
Yes.
That the marketing, the sales team can pitch then to a brand and say, look how many clicks we got. So let me tell you, what do you think happens then if, I don't know, people are out throwing cans of Goya beans at a riot? Goya's going to be like, we don't want to be associated with this. So don't include, we're going to stop selling. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen where big brands will be like, hey, you're reporting on this story. Man, you know what they do? It's a really clever tactic. When some companies know they're about to get a whistleblower and they know where it's coming from. So a journalist could be like, hi, we're calling, the Tim Pool show. We've got a whistleblower who's going to say these things about you. Then the big company, when they hear this, they go, oh, it's so unfortunate you're going to do the story. We were about to do a big ad buy with you. Yeah. So like basically, you'll get a cookie company. Someone will say they're putting rat poison in their cookies. The journalist calls the cookie company. Then the cookie company says, let me get back to you and we'll give you a quote. Calls the sales department of the news organization and says, we'd like to buy $1 million ad buy with you. And they go, ooh, hot dog, done.
So bribery.
And then so it's circuitous, but yes, because then the ad team goes, hey, everybody, just a heads up. We're doing a big ad with cookie company. So it's a conflict of interest. Any of the reporting we do, just so you know. Now, most of the editorial teams are independent for a lot of these companies, so it doesn't work that way. But a lot of the new companies don't have that same level of independence and will absolutely be like, yo, shut that story down, man. They're giving us money.
Dude, a lot of new media has no oversight at all. It's like
no fact
one
checking.
Guy running a website, and he links to another article that he read, which links to a third article, which links back to his article, and that's the...
This is why we have Snopes, thank goodness.
Let me tell you. So I had NBC smear me, claiming that I was pushing the Seth Rich conspiracy theory, which is completely bunk. It was based off of a live stream from several years ago when a Fox Business article came out claiming Seth Rich had information on his computer. They retracted the story. When the story came out, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And I made a point about how if someone asked me if I thought it was real, I'd be like, 65, 70% or something. I think I said like 57 to 65%. What I was saying was, even though this story came out claiming that he had the information, I still don't believe it. What did they do several years later? And well after the article got retracted, NBC News puts in their article that I pushed it, and they link to some random conspiracy blog. Then Variety and a bunch of other outlets cloned that article without fact checking, and then NBC removed it, and they created a big circle of self-citation. It's called XKCD. For all his faults, he calls this essentially, it's a different version, I'll explain it, cytogenesis, like site and genesis. And he describes a phenomenon that happens on Wikipedia. This is amazing. Someone will go on Wikipedia and they'll write up something nonsensical. They'll say, Freedom Toons is a far left cartoon show.
Which is true.
And then they'll publish it, right? And if you're not talking about Trump, you're talking about someone who isn't the most prominent person in the world, it'll probably get overlooked for a short amount of time. But then a journalist will be like, I need to find information on Freedom Toons. And they'll look it up on Wikipedia and say it's a left-wing cartoon. Then they'll write a story based on some glance on Wikipedia and saying, Freedom Toons, a left-wing cartoon. Then someone on Wikipedia says, hey, there's no citation for this. And they go, got it right here. And then they take that other article. So it's a circle of fake sources.
Yeah.
This is like idea laundering. Have you heard the phrase idea laundering? I can't remember. Was that one of the Weinsteins or Gad Sad?
I don't know.
can't remember who it
It's-
originates
it's
with.
used
but
by the
it's
left and
basically
the right.
yeah, it's basically the same concept.
I got accused of that because some anarchists on Reddit posted something like, make sure you bring your guns or something to a Portland, to a protest with Proud Boys. And so I tweeted, they're talking about bringing guns. And then a bunch of conservatives picked it up, and then it started a game of telephone, and then it became Antifa announces they're getting armed for, armed Antifa announces.
Picked up steam in like 2010. Something about being able to make ad revenue online. About 2010 is when it started to pick up steam. Like YouTube really pioneered internet ad revenue.
Yeah.
And then you could start your own website. You get Google ads, Facebook ads started paying you. And
It was
people just-
Facebook.
Facebook.
Because Facebook was like the beginning of this algorithmic content drive. So what happened was you had, in the early days of Facebook, somebody makes a news website and they would call it like, Freedom Tunes News.
Oh my goodness, I'm so on the spot here.
And so I'm just it's a safe reference, your brand. So let's say you have two channels, Timcast and Freedom Tunes News. And Freedom Tunes News is an opinionated, hard,
Just horrible.
Just like
trash.
I hate Obama. That Obama. And then Timcast is very much like, today Obama announced a new plan to bring peace to the Middle East. And,
Of course.
well, not really Obama. Obama's new plan was to bring drone bombs to the Middle
He
East.
did announce
But
it, I think.
The point is, in the early days of Facebook, and it's even true to this day in a lot of ways on many platforms, people don't interact with boring, straight news.
Yeah.
And they choose the more bombastic content. I mean, this is true for me too, because I do opinion, I fact check, but I like to think that my opinions are to a certain degree informed. But of course, I could be wrong. They're opinions. And so people are more interested in seeing what someone has to say. Now, there's a couple things to consider here. We don't need straight fact news, because we know for the most part the moment something happens. Donald Trump gives a speech and he says, I'm going to win a Nobel Peace Prize. I was nominated. And we all know. Okay. And then a news story comes out saying Donald Trump wins the Nobel, is nominated for a Peace Prize. And we say, I heard it already. Trump tweeted it. I don't need this article. So the article that does get clicked is, here's why Trump should win a Peace Prize.
That's a good point.
And then people want to hear the argument. But back in the day, what happened was these news brands, you had straight news and you had bombastic news. And because people weren't clicking straight news, bombastic news was gaining way more traffic. Then the venture capital came in and they said, hey, you're getting 1 million views. These guys are only getting 100,000. Here's $1 million to keep going. And then they took $1 million, hired more people just like them, and they created an empire out of bombastic, hyper-partisan content. But here's the best part. These companies started doing A/B testing, figuring out which articles work and which articles didn't. And so what happens is keywords in the algorithm. If you have on Facebook an article that says police brutality, it'll get X views. If you have racism, you'll get Y views. But racist police brutality combines them for X plus Y views, or maybe even X times Y, depending. So the more you stuff into the article, the more reach you get. And that created, so in my opinion, this resulted in the rise of a psychotic fringe mainstream left, because they keep running in circles, like chasing each other with more and more extreme narratives. And the moderates and the right, like even old school liberals, aren't in this game. They're doing more research on their own, and they're not trusting the mainstream media. The left blindly trusts these brands without question.
I can speak 100% first person. I was in that at Minds. Bill and I were writing articles, and we were writing spectacular headlines. We were trying to get clicks, and we were part of a group of news organizations that were coming up 2010 on Facebook that a lot of people and we were just putting it out there and we would notice violence would get a lot of clicks. So there'd be this temptation to write these articles about violence. And the day the Boston bombing happened, I realized I'm not going to go that route.
Good for
because
you.
When I write articles about it, we get tons of traffic, but it perpetuates the violence. So I stopped.
I don't know.
Do you think it perpetuates the violence?
Yeah,
No,
definitely.
I don't.
I saw it firsthand.
I think you might be conflating a bit more. So telling people a violent terror act happened could result in a backlash where people call for law and order to stop violence.
But the people that
overreaction.
the people that are making money off of that happening subconsciously want it to keep happening.
But that's not going to make violence. So here's what happens.
It makes people write articles about
the police.
Violence.
So it depends on which way you go. If you write an article about the Boston bombing, it's going to result in security. It's going to result in people having an overreaction to terrorism, and they're going to demand the state secure them and keep them safe. If you write about police brutality, meaning the threat comes from the state, you're going to get waves of people demanding the dismantling of the state. And that's what's happening now. So because you have conservatives and even to a certain degree moderates who hold all moral foundations, loyalty, purity, authority being the three, according to Jonathan Haidt's research, that the left doesn't have, they're the ones saying, well, wait a minute. I'm not just going to throw the police department out. I have loyalty. I respect to a certain degree authority, although conservatives also do have a large libertarian liberty spectrum, moral foundation as well. So here's what happens. You get the liberals, according to Jonathan Haidt's research, have care and fairness as their moral foundations. And the right has all six, which is care, fairness, authority, purity, loyalty, and liberty. That means if you come to me and say all cops are bad, you're going to trigger loyalty, respect for authority, and right then it's going to make it so the conservatives go, whoa. All of them? I'm loyal to the people who have served my community and helped me, to the military, things like that.
Yes.
The left doesn't have those. Therefore, when they see police brutality, they go, oh, rebel, and they say, burn it all down, destroy it. And that's literally what's happening. So what I think we see is you have conservatives who have a strong basis in all moral foundations. And again, this is it's Jonathan Haidt's research. It's he's got a book. It's called, The Coddling of the American Mind? Yeah, definitely got to read this stuff. And if I'm getting it wrong, then Jonathan can absolutely correct me and you guys can come at me. My general understanding is, or at least I should say my interpretation would be, if we see a story as, so I have a decent balance. I'm like left liberal in the moral foundations, even leaning a bit conservative because of like authority and purity. And I have a big liberty foundation because you can actually take the test where they map you out.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you come to me with this extremist article that says something like the Boston bombing, terror around every corner, my liberty foundation is going to start flaring red alert. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be like, whoa. I respect liberty. I have a strong liberty moral foundation. So I'm not going to give up my freedoms just because we saw this, this article. My authority will also be like, yeah, but. So you end up with this like moderate approach. Okay. So we need some security. We got to respect that we need police and we need some way to stop these terrorists, but we got to make sure we don't cross the line and we respect civil liberties, even for people who want to protest. The left doesn't have authority or a large liberty. It's mostly just care and fairness. So when they see a video of police brutality, they go, burn the system down. The police are crooked. And there's nothing to stop them. They have no respect. They have no loyalty. They have no purity. They have very little liberty. Libertarian's my favorite. It's all liberty. They have like very little of anything, but liberty is straight through the roof. So it's like some of these, there's like the test for the moral foundations has some really gross stuff that I'm not even going to say. And libertarians are like, don't care. You can do what you want so long as you're not hurting somebody else and it's consensual.
Oof.
Right. You see where I'm going?
Yeah.
Ugh.
When I was writing,
but that's. Oh. Well, no, to be fair, too, I mean, obviously I haven't taken a look at that test. I know that, like, I'm not as libertarian as I used to be, but a lot of libertarians probably would say, like, I disapprove of this thing, but I don't want the government to be involved. But I guess I'm not sure to the extent to which you're speaking, and you didn't want to say them. I assume it's stuff that would get us demonetized?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
One of them was creating an adult lovemaking doll based on your niece.
Oh, that's disgusting. Yeah, you should go to jail. I mean, you should be shot if you do that.
So the issue is conservatives.
And there are people who actually said yes to that.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Conservatives have a purity foundation where they see that and they go, oh, like the reaction you just had.
Yeah.
People who are just libertarian don't have strong foundations. And I'm not trying to drag other libertarians because you can be libertarian and still have strong foundations. Mm-hmm. It's a generality that libertarians basically say, hey, man, if you want to do your thing in private in your own home, then why am I going to stop you from doing it as long as you're not hurting anybody else?
Okay, so I think when I was writing these articles and other people were writing these articles about the Boston bombing and other violent things that would happen, I think it was inciting the left. And I didn't know what the left was at the time.
Why?
Because when I would write an article about a terror act, it would spark fear in the comments. Thousands of people would freak out, and then I'd see other articles start to be written about the same thing, and people would be afraid in those comments. And then my boss would want more of that because it was catching. And then I would try and write about solar panels, and it would get 1,000th of the views, but people would be talking about how awesome this new technology was.
Anger.
And I had a choice because I only have so much time in my life of what to propagate. And the media is doing that now with this.
It's Twitter. So it started with Facebook created or I should say, Facebook created a magnifying lens or like a cannon to propel critical race theory, because it fit the algorithm so perfectly to say like the intersection of all of these different ridiculous ideas. Now it's Twitter. Twitter has gamified hate and rage.
That's very
true. So that's why, I was thinking about this earlier. I talked about it. I wonder if Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks has always been such a really mean person.
No, I don't think so.
Why is he so mean now?
I don't know him as a person, so
he's frustrated.
Yeah.
So I remember the last time I saw several years ago, I saw him at VidCon, and he walked up to me and he shook my hand and said, "How's things been going?" I'm like, "It's pretty good." And he was like, "Right on, right on." I'm like, "How are you?" He's like, "Yeah, it's going pretty good." We talked for a little bit, and he's like, "Hey man, I'll see you around. Take care." The next time I saw him, he snapped, started screaming at me.
Oh.
He was just like rah. And now him and the Young Turks are mocking my appearance, like insulting my looks.
Wow.
It's the weirdest thing. I don't understand why they've become so personally and directly nasty.
So do you?
I'm not even trying to insult them at all. I wish them the best. I don't get it.
Do you think they've changed, or that you're
Definitely.
just viewed as a boogeyman by the left now, and so they're jumping on board
They
with
changed.
that? So they
When
were
I-
less angry towards their opponents at this time?
Not necessarily, but Twitter's given them a vehicle to just be angry all the time.
Well, that's the funny thing about Twitter, right? Like on a good day on Twitter, or a day on Twitter where you're successful, it's usually because you have said something that's really upset somebody else. And on a bad day, it's something has been said that upsets you. So it's kind of a play stupid games, win stupid prizes type thing.
But a lot of the tweets that I'll put up, like my reaction to crazy news, like there was a story and it said something like Pennsylvania is saying that if the signature doesn't match on a mail-in vote, the vote can't be disqualified. So I quote tweet that and put LOL.
Yeah.
I didn't say, "Oh, the end, oh, they're evil." I just put LOL, because my view on things is very much like, I remember this. You ever see Galaxy Quest?
No.
You ever
Oh,
seen-
is that
Only part
the Star Trek parody with Tim
Right.
Allen?
Yes.
Okay. I've never
And so
seen it, but I'm familiar.
So I'm reminded of the scene where Tony Shalhoub, he's in engineering, and the aliens are all around him, and they're like in an emergency, and like they're about to die, and they ask him, and he's just laughing. He's like, "It's going good, I guess," and he's just having a good time. And I'm like, that's the kind of attitude I think would benefit people. Like, look, man, if you can't control anything, don't scream and freak out. Enjoy life. Find the best of it. Have a laugh. I'm watching all of this craziness happen around me. I'm not gonna get angry about it. Sometimes
compared to Cenk, like you and him are in similar but very different situations, because he has a huge company now. I don't know the size of how many employees they have, and I heard that they were losing money at one point.
I guess he threatened to I guess he did fire somebody who wanted to form a union or something like that.
Yeah. He didn't want his people to unionize. So that's that must be extremely stressful, just from a personal perspective on Cenk. Anna doesn't seem to be going through that stress.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to anything particularly about the Young Turks, but you just said something really interesting, sort of about stress levels and how you react to a high-stakes situation. And I find that in our culture, we have yet to find this happy medium, or at least most people have, where you have legitimate moral concerns and you're trying to make the world a better place, but you're not so caught up in whether you as an individual will be perfectly successful at that. It seems as if people are just completely nihilistic and everything's funny and they don't care about anything and they're just going to do whatever they want to have a good time, and why get caught up in any of the morality of it, because it's just going to stress me out. And then there are other people who do have legitimate moral concerns, but then they go over the top thinking that they're the person who needs to solve every single problem, and they lose their minds when they're not successful.
Yeah.
And I find that the best way to go about it, and this is something I struggle with as well, because I don't know that I've got that perfect balance yet, but it's to follow your moral code, to do as best as you possibly can, but to recognize that God has a plan, and if you're not successful, things will be as they should.
I think I know where my bias in this regard comes from. Like, why am I talking about the Young Turks and not, say, like Turning Point or like some other conservative group? Well, I don't think they actually do it all. They're all that bad. Like Candace Owens has certainly had negative words for, like, say, I think Cardi B was that they were
I remember
tweeting
that.
at each other.
That was a whole huge thing. Yeah.
It was a huge thing, and they were both throwing shit at each other. But I started thinking about it just now. Twitter has banned all of the right that's been, bombastic and trolly and nasty. So
very true.
And not even people who are nasty. I'm saying like trolly as well, like #LearnToCode. The left literally incites violence and organizes violent riots on Twitter, and they just do it with impunity. No one's going to stop them. So what ends up happening is there is little incentive on the right for people to become that rage monster, because you will be banned like that. And so conservatives are very wary of this. Right-wing individuals are like, I'm not going to, I don't want to get banned. I say the wrong thing. And then people get banned all the time.
Yeah.
The left, with impunity, are incentivized to be rageful and hateful and mean. And I'm just sitting here like, You'd be much more successful, appealing, and you'd convince more people if you were nice about it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But they don't want to.
Or you could just make fun of them in cartoons. Or you could just own the libs in cartoons. I think that helps. I think, that's one strategy
as you get
that works really well.
Cartoons are actually awesome.
I appreciate that.
But when you get powerful, the nicer you are, that's the more successful you'll be, the more people will like you.
Yeah, and to be fair, no, I do try to keep it lighthearted, and I think I make it obvious that I'm just joking around and playing around. But I hear what you're saying, and one thing I've noticed along with this is it seems as if we're playing basically what you said by two different sets of rules. And when you're in public life, the further to the right you get, the higher your difficulty setting becomes. So you see this, right-wing figures tend to have to be much more careful about what they say because each little thing can be taken out of context and their life can be destroyed.
Except for Donald Trump.
Except for Donald Trump, because he has the cheat code. And the cheat code is don't care.
Donald Trump's a 99 overall, and he represents the right. So all these people on the left that are like 12 overall, 13 overall, they're letting them be angry.
Yeah, what are these,
like, say it's a game of weight. Donald Trump exudes 1,000 points of weight. All these other people, like, I don't want to drag Cenk, he's awesome, but like people like anyone on the left that gets angry on Twitter and posts like, F this, this horrible. They have weight of like 12 or 13, so Twitter's letting them add their weight up collectively so that they can equal out to Donald Trump.
That's ridiculous.
I know it is ridiculous, but that's, I think, what's happening.
I think they're just biased, and they're all laughing there together, and the Twitter employees are like, Orange Man is bad. I like that tweet. How dare you tell me to learn to code? You're banned forever.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, Lydia, I think you're about to say something.
Ian made a point earlier about how being nice will get you further in life, and this is something that I hold on to. I actually don't know if it's true because I don't know how far I've gotten in life. I love my life, but I do think that the old adage that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care is 100% true. And I think there is also some truth. It was interesting what you said, Seamus, about Donald Trump having this cheat code, which is don't care. And I was like, that's kind of interesting because I think the right cares way too much about 100%. Being called racist. And I appreciate that they care about their reputation. That's very meaningful to them. But at the same time, it's like maybe you care a little too much. Maybe you would benefit from having a little don't care in your life. I don't know.
Exactly. Well, I find that the right wing actually tends to worship at the altar of human respect. It's all about ensuring everybody knows that I'm a good person.
It's the moral
thing
foundation.
The left says about me aren't true.
It's the moral foundations.
I think that could be part of it. But at the same time, maybe it's just a quirk of the fact that we live in this system where the left doesn't seem to pay a price for being far left, but they don't care what you think of their political views, and we seem to, and that has to stop if we're ever going to win.
What happens when you're loyal to someone who is not loyal to you?
You get burned.
And that's exactly what we have. Conservatives with a loyalty moral foundation, loyal to the citizens of this country, and a left that is not loyal in return. They just believe in this nebulous concept of fairness and whatever that means. But they don't care about you or what you've done for them, and that's why they don't care for the police. They have no loyalty to the system as it stands that's helped them succeed. They view America as inherently evil, and I'm not saying literally every single one of them, but the dominant, very vocal ones view America as inherently evil. They do. They say it's colonization and it's white supremacy, and they accuse the founding fathers of these atrocities, and they ignore all of the really great things that have been done.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. And we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.